Okay, to start out, we're going to take a half sheet pan, and for this recipe, you can use whatever you have, how much ever you have, just whatever your family's flavors taste are. So, I'm using old-fashioned rolled oats. And I buy my oats in bulk. And then I have saved these containers back from when I've bought singles. And I just store them this way for our everyday use. I have others for long-term storage, but these are for everyday use. And I'm just spreading it out on a half sheet pan. If you notice, I'm just kind of shimmying it around, push it around, get it even. I've been preheating my oven to 350 this whole time, and I'm putting this in the oven. Now I'm grabbing, because I'm making a very large batch. My family loves this stuff. So I get a quarter sheet pan, and I dump more on it. There have been times where I've had the big one and this one and a couple other ones, and I keep rotating them out. So if you're keeping track, so far that is 1.5. This will be 2.5. And I know the label says quick cook, but I didn't buy quick cook. I bought, these are actually rolled. Use organic if you can. If you can't afford it, I mean, I understand. And I put this in the oven. And I just let it bake at 350 for as long as it takes to make the mixture. Sometimes I let it cook longer and let them get more toasted. Sometimes I don't. I've done this without toasting them. Now, I'm adding a cup of real butter, not margarine, not olive oil butter. I believe this is salted sweet cream. It's real butter. And this is about 1/3 of a cup of honey that I have left over. And this is raw, local honey. I know where these bees reside. I know the lady and her son that processed them. So, raw, local honey. If at all possible, local raw honey. Because the flowers that grow in your area, the more local the bees are to you, the more that can actually help you and kind of get you used to the pollen in the area, and it'll help your allergies. It'll help you with them. They tell you to take a teaspoon of raw local honey every morning to help get rid of seasonal allergies. And it helps. I mean, it doesn't get rid of them completely, but it does help quite a bit. I've done this for years. Allergy shots and all that haven't worked, but this works. So, I melt the butter. Move you over so you can see a little bit better. I look horrible, but I forgot to put my apron on. But you melt the butter. And I just keep stirring the butter and melting it. You can do this as a brown butter also. I'm just melting it. If you're going to do it brown butter, when it all gets melted, you keep stirring like a mad woman or mad man. And keep it going until the butter's all brown. It gives it a richer flavor. But, I don't have time for that mess. I have 3 kids and I run a business and a homestead. I just don't have time for this mess. So, I'm adding in the honey, and I'm using a little small scraper. And yes, I love the Pioneer Woman stuff. I have tons of scrapers. You always need these rubber scraper spatulas. I cannot express how handy it is to have them. So I scraped out every last bit of that honey. I use my stirry spoon to scrape it off the little scrubber spoon. Then I stir that in. And I've got this the heat on this set about medium high. It's hard to gauge. This is a gas stove. And I love this stove. When we move, this is a rent house. When we move, I'd be happy to take the stove with me. It's been the greatest thing. The newer gas stoves, you have to have power to them also so that you can run things, because it's got an electric regulator in them and electric ignition, and I really don't like those. I don't like pushing buttons. Okay, I'm using a cup of brown sugar. This is light brown sugar. You could use dark brown sugar. You could use organic sugar. You could use white sugar. You could use maple sugar, agave, stevia, whatever you want. And it doesn't have to be to this amount, but I'm making a large batch. So I just put that in there and I stir it. I don't want it scorched to the bottom. Okay, so stir. Keep it stirring, keep it moving. You don't want it scorched. There are different ways you can use this granola. Many different ways. My kids eat it like regular cereal because I don't buy cereal in my house. Next is peanut butter. You could use organic peanut butter. You could use chunky peanut butter. You could use PB powder, Max powder. You could use Nutella. You could use organic. You could not use it at all. You could use sunflower. You could use any butter or none at all. See, scrapers again. There's 2 of them in this case. And I used 2 big scoops. I would say that's probably pretty close to a cup of peanut butter I put in there. Just pretty standard. No matter what size batch I use about that much. And a scrapey. I watch a soap maker here on YouTube, and she says scrapey, my big containy all the time, and I thought that was funny. So I use that a lot when I'm cooking. So if I accidentally say that, I got it from Royalty Soaps. But you got to keep the peanut butter moving. Peanut butter squirts worse than the sugars. So, and I know as I go through this recipe and what I'm doing, y'all are going to think I'm putting way too much sugar in here. But really, if you think about it, all this makes the equivalent of those big monster, the biggest bags that they make of the multi-meal cereals at the grocery store. This is molasses. You can use bootstrap molasses, sorghum. Don't have to add it. You can add it. It's just another layer of flavor. Not everybody likes the flavor of molasses. You could use a guava syrup or anything like fruit. This is my homemade vanilla, and I keep it constantly going. I poured that out. I'll get in the pantry and get some vodka out, and I'll top the bottle off. When I can find them, I get more vanilla beans, and I just add them to it. Okay, this is ginger. And I add ginger to this for a couple of reasons. I add ginger and cinnamon. are my spices in this. I do the ginger, one, because it is a great complement to the cinnamon. But also, ginger is an anti-inflammatory, a natural anti-inflammatory. So, that was the cinnamon. Notice, this is pure maple syrup. And I stirred it in. I know. I used between all of them, I used a cup of the brown sugar. I used about 1/4 of a cup of the honey. I used I used probably about 3 tablespoons of the molasses. And I used about 4 tablespoons of the maple syrup. It's more for taste than it is for sweetness. Okay, turn the fire off, and I'm letting it sit. I'll continue to stir it, come back and stir that. So in this this is a food service bowl that I bought at Sam's. I have a couple of them, and I use them all the time because it's great for making bread dough. It's great for doing this. I do when I'm making my watermelon wine or my plum wine. I use this. I use it all. I make salads in it because I make large salads, and I use that. Okay, that was a fruit and nut mix. Don't know what all it has in it. It has a lot of bananas. So I had some more raisins, just a little bit, and they were clumped together. So, and then I'm going to add some dried cherries. I know that fruit mix did have some dates in it too. So, use all these dried cherries. I just had a few left in the bottom. And if it gets loud in the background, my kids have friends over in the backyard jumping on the trampoline now. So, I went back, see, I stirred. Then I'm adding in some dried cranberries. And then I'm going to use some flax seeds. Generally, I use some flax seeds. I'll use some chia seeds, sunflower seeds, pecans, whatever nuts I've got in the house. I'm a little low right now. But I did have these flax seeds. And I'll add them in. They add another level of oil, kind of. Healthy oils. And other nutrients. The wider range of nutrients you can add in to get our kiddos started for school and chores in their day, the better it is. Now, my kids don't just eat this for schools. For in the morning before school, like a cereal. My middle child has taken it in baggies as when he's gone to track meets in high school. He's taken it on trips to like the drama team stuff and band stuff. He has also taken it, wrestling was the big one. He always used it with wrestling. All his friends love it. So now I'm taking the first pan out of the oven and I'm dumping it in straight in while it's warm. Life's too short. You notice this only takes me about 28 minutes to do start to finish. You can stretch it out or shorten it up. It doesn't matter. So I kind of stir it up, see where I'm at. I started doing this for cereal instead of real cereal because my daughter, Sophie, is 11 now, but she was diagnosed as a type 1 diabetic. when she was 3 years old. And about 1.5 years ago, her doctor informed me he thought she was in the beginning stages of kidney failure and kidney disease as a result of the type 1 diabetes. And so I started doing research, what I can do naturally, while we were waiting for 9 months to get into the nephrologist. 9 whole months. Anyways, when we did get into the nephrologist, he decided she didn't. But it's better to be safe than sorry. They see her about every 6 months to a year. Or I guess about every year. And she's not in kidney failure. She's actually doing quite well. But I started looking at packaging, and about the same time as when they came out with the ingredients for cereals and how bad they are. So I started looking, and there's a lot of phosphates in bought cereals, used as a preservative. I do put regular iodized salt, table salt, in this. I have 3 members of our family have thyroid issues, so iodine is always needed. So I use a lot of natural salt. I use a lot of sea salt and Himalayan salt, but I also keep iodized salt in the house because we need it. So I stirred this up and decided it needed a little bit more flaxseed. And flaxseed gives us some more protein too, along with the nuts. And this was low on nuts, like I said. I need to go to the store. But, so, we use this as breakfast cereal because I don't buy breakfast cereal. Also, if you have like marshmallows or chocolate chips, especially dark chocolate chips, you can add those in here. There's all kinds of chips, chocolate chips and stuff at the thing. You could use toffee chips too. But I got it all stirred up, and now I am adding in the sugar and peanut butter and butter mixture. And I'm scraping and scraping and scraping. I'm getting every last drop of this out, because this is the good stuff. And so back to the nephrologist though. He took my recipe for this and he's given it out. He uses it now and he gives it to his patients. Her endocrinologist at that time, he has the recipe and hands it out because this is a healthy option for cereal. It's still got a lot of carbs, which is what type 1s go by. They count carbs, not sugars. And that's how they dose their insulin. But this is healthier, and it's high in fiber, and it's got, depending on what you put in it, it's got lots of protein. Mine usually has more protein, but like I said, I'm out of nuts and seeds. But I think the brown sugar is the least natural thing I put in here. And it's just white cane sugar that they add molasses to. Anyways, I stir it up until everything, just about everything is covered. So that's where this big old bowl comes in handy. And I just keep working and working it. And then I don't grease my pans. I don't butter my pans. I don't grease them, anything when I work with them. Didn't even wipe them down because I took oats off of them. I'm putting oats back on them. I don't see any sense in adding in a step here. So I move this to the side. And I get my pans, and they're still hot. That's why we put a pot holder down. Well, I just dump it out on that pan. Y'all can see the spray bottle in the background right next to my paper towels. That is vinegar. It is a lemon vinegar that I make. I have a big old half-gallon canning jar on the windowsill, and I put white distilled vinegar in that jar, and all the lemon peels that I use, lemon and lime peels that I use, and I use quite a bit. I just shove them over in that jar, and I make sure that the vinegar is over top of it. Then when we get ready to use it for our cleaning solution, which is our main cleaning solution, we just strain out the pulp and stuff and pour it into that bottle, that spray bottle, and we use it for everything. I don't use bleach. I clean the toilet bowls on the inside. I clean those with bleach. And where, yeah, the part you're behind actually touches, or where the boys. Anyways, so I spread it out like we did before, and it gets heavy at this point. I put it back in the oven, 350. I never turn the oven off. I just put it right back in where it came from. On to the second one. And spread it, spread it, spread it. And see, I finished spreading it and grab my pot holder, throw it back in the oven again. Now, you bake it for about 15-20 minutes till you start smelling it really good. You don't want to burn it. You've got to watch it till it's golden brown. Looks like what you want it to look like. So, then you pull it out. I don't even take time to cool it. From back in the days when we used to buy cereal all the time, I have these containers that are airtight and everything. Sorry. And I put it in there. Now, I'm thinking about doing more of these type things, adding more of my homesteading type of life into this channel. I would love to see and hear from y'all if y'all like that, if y'all want me to continue with this, because that's a big part of my life too. I don't just sew. I swear I spend over half my life cooking for my family, which is fine. I love it. Okay, I use a bench scraper, kitchen scraper, pastry cutter, whatever you want to call these. I got it at the Dollar Tree for $1. Ain't fancy. I ain't bougie. I'm not high maintenance. I'm not bougie. I'm not any of that. I'm just normal, plain. Okay, this is another bowl. And I just scrape it all off in the bowl. And this is sheer. You could go from this pan to whatever container your cereal's landing in, your granola is landing in for permanence. But I do it this way for ease. We don't mind a few extra dishes. I would rather do an extra dish in the sink than sweep off the floor. It's just that simple. I'd rather clean it up the counter and wash something in the sink than sweep the floor again. So I already do that several times a day. Or we do. Me and Matthew take turns. My oldest helps me out. When you see a man's hands in this, that's him. He's right there helping me out. So see, I'm just scraping off the second pan. So, yeah, I did something dumb this morning. We had this new cat that John brought in. Usually it's me or one of the kids that brings in a new animal. He brought this kitten in. And she is the cutest little hot mess you've ever seen. She is deaf as a doornail. She doesn't hear anything. This morning, during all this, after it's done, I wanted to see where she was, make sure I didn't shut her in the pantry or out in the garage. And so me and the kids are calling for her, and then all of a sudden I started going, kitty, 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 kitty. She's asleep on the couch. The boys both looked at me like, Mama. And I'm still doing the... They said, Mama. Looked at me, and then it dawned on me. So it just started going, okay, I'm stupid. She kept sleeping. She had been under my feet. She's got this sense. And see, this cup here, this is my container. And it says on there it holds 32 ounces, I think. But that's way off. Anyways. So, I got this bowl cup thing out of a Pioneer Woman set for Christmas. John got it for me a couple of years ago for Christmas. Had knives and cutting board and all kinds of awesome stuff in it. This is the greatest thing in the world. It's got a pouring spout and a handle on it. And it's melamine, so it's not going to break very easy. Which is a problem in my house. I got 2 boys and a little girl that is a tomboy. Things break. So, just go through and scoop it and pour it in. Makes it easy peasy. I think Sophie and her little friends are playing dodgeball on the trampoline. I can see them out the kitchen window. I'm sitting at the bar in the kitchen doing this voiceover. Anyways, see, I just keep scooping. And I didn't fill it all the way because I wanted to make sure that the way the lid fits. So I did another one. Matthew looked at me and said, Mom, it would have all fit in one. But see, you can see on the front of it, it shows the multi-meal bagged cereals in it. That gives you an idea. Anyways, it would have all fit in one. So y'all let me know below if y'all want me to continue doing these type videos on top of it. Look how yummy that looks.